Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this third panel of the EU-CONEXUS International Congress. We are going to debate about adaptive and resilient urban systems, smart infrastructure, and the coastal cities of the future. My name is José Luis Muñoz, and I'm Senior Advisor for Innovation and Transformation, and I have the honor to moderate this debate with all these speakers. And we are going to talk this morning about coastal cities and how should be rethinking all these urban systems in order to transform how we live, how we move, how we build, and how we share the space in all these areas. We have a very high-level panel of speakers here across Europe, from Lithuania, from Croatia, Romania, and also from Cyprus. And we have different point of view, but our challenge will be that these will be deep connections between the different point of view across Europe, but also across different challenges that all this team is working. They are working on reducing urban energy demand and integrated renewable energies on the cities. They are working also on transforming ports, cities through infrastructure, and how this could affect the way of living of the people that are around these infrastructures, this area. Also, they are working on building urban resilience through local climate planning and how this can help for this transformation. And then also something very important, how we are going to safeguarding access to housing and land for the people, for the local people that are living in these areas. That's why I encourage all of us not to focus only on solutions. It will be good to focus especially on relations between infrastructure and people, between policies and place, and also between past and future. That's why this is what we are going to debate here. Before beginning the discussion, I would like that each of the panelists, they are going to make a short introduction, what are their perspective of this topic. You know, that's why then later, we will start the debate, and at the end, we will have the opportunity, if you wanted to make a questions from the audience, it will be really very welcome. Then, let's go to start, okay? And let me to introduce Christiana Croitoru. She is Associate Professor at Technical University, Civil Engineer in Bucharest, and Director of the Doctoral School. She is working on sustainable buildings, cities, energy efficiency, and digital twins. Also, she has involved in several Horizon Europe projects with a strong background in sustainable and building system energies, but also she works at the intersection of technology, building design, policies, and how to help cities on this transition toward more resilient and inclusive urban futures.
Thank you.
Christiana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Nice to see you, dear audience. I'm very glad to be here, to have this discussion, which is a little bit more philosophical from my perspective, since we talk a lot about resilience and sustainability, a topic which cannot detach technology from other parts of our society. One of my first loves, let's say, it was the beginning, how to create better buildings and how to, let's say, optimize this relationship between the occupant and the buildings. We have, in our team, we have different approaches related to energy efficiency, sustainability of materials, and lately we have a little bit oriented over the digitalization and technology inside the buildings, because we saw that we cannot create buildings that are inert anymore. They need to be adapted also for the users, but also for the larger scale, which is the city. So it's an ongoing perspective between and relationship between citizen, building, and city. So that's why we need to look at this built environment that we are creating and we are designing. What does it mean for each of the scales? If we look at the human scale, at the occupant scale, we are more focused on health and how we perceive the indoor environmental quality. But we also need a reaction from the building to react at our own needs. So that's why the building itself needs to be responsive to those needs, needs to be designed in a way that creates the perfect environment for those needs. So that's why this building needs to read their occupancy, really needs to adapt its own usage to the occupants. And then later needs to optimize its own consumption. Why? Because if we look at the larger scale, to the city scale, where we need to have another perspective, those buildings need to be integrated in the city infrastructures, and we need to be part of electrical grids, of thermal grids. We need to see those buildings like points of interest in those cities, and to create an overall better built environment. So that's why today we will focus a little bit more on this city scale and how those points of interest, which are the buildings, can better adapt and can create a resilient built environment. If we look at those cities, we see different flows. Flow of energy, from my perspective, this is what I see first, but also flow of traffic, flow of water, flow of different things that create a living organism in the end. This city could be, let's say, seen as a living organism. Of course, we know those cities have a lot of energy consumption, and we are now in a situation where we need to reduce. We need to align to decarbonization targets of 2050, when we need to have neutral cities. How do we get that? One of the answers is to start reducing the energy demand at the building level, because buildings are associated with a lot of carbon emissions and also a huge part of energy consumption. Cities themselves account of, I don't know, maybe 70% of the total energy use, but buildings have a large share on that. So we need to make the buildings require less energy, require to be flexible, to optimize the envelopes. What does it mean? All these buildings need to reduce first the essential part and the essential step to reduce the energy. We need to consume less as possible, because of course we depend on this energy and we cannot live without it. Decarbonization doesn't mean zero energy. But we talk about a lot of optimization and energy flexibility. This is an essential step on this reduction of energy consumption. We need to create better building envelopes. We need to invent and this is where technology comes, to invent better building systems with better efficiency, so we can reduce the primary energy in the end. But after that, when we talk about these buildings, they also need to be responsive. They need to further adapt, and we talk maybe about unusual concept, or we started to talk about them, like digital twins. What are those digital twins? Why do we create them? Just to create data? No, we create them to better understand and then to further optimize the consumption and the use of the buildings in order to have a predictive way of understanding this energy consumption. So,
2 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So, and then when we first reduce the energy consumption, we need to see, okay, what about the rest? Where is the source of the energy where we can require an extra consumption? So at the building scale, we have different technical systems. We might all know about it. Energy systems, but also storage system, which is also very important. While at district scale, we need to start thinking about this sharing energy and to consider the buildings like energy assets, which can be contacted and contracted whenever we need. And while at the city scale, we have let's say the overview, the umbrella overview, where we can see what is the energy potential to better do the analysis, to overlap with different other social layers and some other economical layers, for example, in the cities, to better understand where are those, where is this energy potential that we can further use. So that's why we end up in the third place, where, not the last place, but one of the three main important steps, where we need first also to focus on this fairness of energy. What does it mean to use energy? Does everybody afford energy? So we should not consider this decarbonization with any cost. This decarbonization measure needs to be something that is adaptable to their own citizens, and we should look at the vulnerability of our own citizens, and we should think more about, for example, energy poverty, which is also a very important topic. And this climate neutrality should be a responsible way of us researchers to respond to these challenges, but leaving no citizen behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christiana. Thank you. Let me introduce Vilma Nabikiene. She began her professional journey in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, at the Sustainable Mobility Agency. She was working a lot on that for making urban transport cleaner, easier, and better connected. Today, she is now working in a very challenging initiative. This is in the Port Authority of Klaipėda, also on the Green Port Vision, that includes not just marine transport, but also social, economic, environmental, and institutional goals. That's why, Vilma, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's truly my honor to be here among so many professionals and professors. I'm from the business part, let's say, Authority of Klaipėda Port. I'm replacing my COO here, Algis Latakas, you might know. He's a part of this community. So, and actually the Port of Valencia is our inspiration, let's say. And I want to present what we are planning to do in the green vision of our port, but because Port of Valencia is an example of how sustainable innovations can go hand to hand with the technologies and the business as well. So let me briefly introduce Klaipėda's Green Port Vision. It's our roadmap towards a climate neutral and future-ready seaport. So it's gonna cost a lot for us. We plan it to be like 600 million euros. But we see Klaipėda port as resilient adaptation, not only responding for climate changes, but as a driver of innovation. And we try to lead this narrative in the communities, in the mayor office, I would say, in the local politics, and in the country. And our Green Port vision connects many sustainability goals, I would say. Smart technologies, cleaner technologies, smart infrastructure, and as well community well-being. And a good example of it is on-shore power supply. We are now on the way to build it. And our first stage starts with the 4 stations. And it comes and goes across key terminals, fleet base and cruise terminal. And this project shows that you can reach your goals step by step with single infrastructure change. And that's all the visions comes from ideas, and then by doing and implementing things, you can reach all the goals, and efficiency, urban life, healthier, and etc. Our second project, which is starting in 2026 in Klaipėda, is green hydrogen production and storage facility. And we are very happy and very proud of being this project implemented, actually. It will keep supply of hydrogen for port operations, and as well, as far as I know, Vilnius, when I worked for mobility in our capital, we bought buses that was running by green hydrogen. Maybe Klaipėda will turn into that way. Now we have electric public buses for people, but this station, green hydrogen production and storage facility, is a good step forward, I would say, to build your own ecosystem and be that we will see foundation for a resilient regional energy. So I want to present a third example. You know that in families we tell kids what we have to do. At university, teachers us tell what we have to do. But reality is that you have to lead by example. And the authority of Klaipėda port actually is leading by example from ourselves. We are modernizing our own fleets. So now it's under building our new hybrid vessels and hydrogen-powered waste collection ship. It cost huge money. Does it worth a business case? Not at all. But it's a practical example how green technologies can reinforce resilience, and we have and we take the step to lead this narrative and this discussion about our ecosystem, about coastal cities transformation as well. And the last our step, our new cruise terminal, we plan that because port is very close in the city, and we want to show that port is not only for urban spaces, not only used for cargos, for business, and etc. So our vision represents the human side of cruise terminal. New philosophy, I would say, to introduce public spaces, bicycle roads, pedestrian areas, and to open port to public, where all we can share urban spaces between port and all the community. So concluding what I have introduced you, so we want to become a port more decarbonized and to be the leader of the discussions in the local communities and in our country as well too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vilma. Thank you. This is very interesting, you know, and this is a big challenge in Klaipėda port. Also, when you see how is the port and the city, there is all the same, you know, it's together. That's why this is a big challenge on that. And also I think this, then later maybe on the debate we can talk about that, but it's very important how to deal with all that transition and at the same time to be competitive in Europe. You know, like the Draghi report, it has been a very clear message that has been created, the EU competitive compass from the European Union, and different strategies, some of them from ports and also the maritime sector. How we can continue to be competitive with all this adaptation, and we should be done really on the right way. This involves the city, this involves the citizens, and social aspects, and that then later we'll speak. Thank you very much, Vilma. And now I would like to introduce Professor Byron Ianou. He is the head of the Department of Architecture and lead the urban planning unit of the Frederick University in Cyprus. Also, he has been working in urban issues such as climate neutral planning, housing, sustainable mobility, density and sprawl, public space, urban green spaces, planning law, and development of inclusive settlements. You can see that he's an expert on how planning the cities should be in the future. Also, he has contributed as board member in many national, European, and international built environment and urban design bodies. Thank you. The floor is yours. Byron.
Thank you, Jose Luis. I'm very glad being here and having this interesting conversation with my colleagues and you. And I was also enjoyed the meetings we done with Jose Luis in order to start preparing this panel. It was very creative, and I hope you enjoy the panel today here. Though I'm dealing with all these things that Jose Luis mentioned, I am jealous of the effectiveness that port cities manage their strategies and achieve their goals. And I'm afraid that it is not so easy. It is not the case for the built environment in the city, where there is no one that has the full control of the of the space. So building climate resilient coastal cities is a very challenging issue. And now we are working with Limassol City in order to try and implement projects and increase the carbon neutrality of the city. And I hope that in 2 or 3 years I will have more experiences to share with you. But I would like to start with these two. Usually I do this, I try to compare images, and Jose Luis was commenting that maybe we should add some more words for the audience, but I see that maybe it's better to start with the images, because when we walk around, we see images and colors and trees and buildings, and we don't see numbers and KPIs. So we have two different outlines of a neighborhood. The old one is a typical European setting, and the other is suburban, which is in Cyprus. And always I discuss and I ask, where is climate resilience? Where is carbon neutrality here? Where is energy consumption? Where is mobility? I am sure that all of you can read these aspects, and all of you can vote which is the most resilient case and the less resilient and the less sustainable case. So when you set the layout of the city and the regulation and the building regulation down, then the boundaries and the limits of improving things with tools, with very fancy methodologies are limited. Once on the ground we have a wrong settlement, then it's very hard to improve things and change things. And sometimes we say that we improve things because we compare with our old position and not with something much better. So what we see here is a lot of land take for streets, less green. We don't see at the left-hand side a smart or a rational arrangement of green spaces. We see low densities. We see land vacancy. We see soil sealing. We see a lot of things that we can afterwards measure and put in the models and, of course, make the right suggestions. But how can we fix these things? It's a huge challenge. And if we can, in which extent can we fix a city that is wrongly designed or wrongly developed? We need strategies. We need to strategically plan and act. We need time frames. We need to take in mind the coastal parameter of the cities, because coastal cities are different with inland cities. We have things that are relevant to the environment, to the land values, to the land uses, so these are taken in mind. And we can ask how, we can also ask if we can. And it's good sometimes to understand our limitations and to understand where can we, what can we achieve in the end. I have been working for many years analyzing climate local plans. Climate local plans were seen as a mean for achieving climate neutrality and addressing the cities, especially on two basic pillars: the densities, planning the proper densities in the proper places, and sustainable mobility. I think that these two are some very crucial hotspots in sustainable city development, and I think that very successfully our colleague Henry Jensen from Rostock yesterday analyzed these issues in depth. We have been working since 2019. We have analyzed, we are a huge group. You can visit our website, the Euro LCP initiative. It started as a volunteering group from experts all over Europe. We have analyzing at the first step, we have analyzed the climate mitigation plans, which were addressed by the Covenant of Mayors in 10 or 15 years ago. And now we are looking at the climate adaptation plans, which is the next step, not only to reduce emissions, but also to adapt to climate crisis and all this kind of stuff. And I will conclude this short introduction with the prerequisites we have detected in order to have, in reality, an effective climate planning. Because sometimes we produce plans, we produce strategies, and in the end we didn't get the result we want to. So what we have seen is more or less things that Christiana mentioned at the beginning, and it's, as Julio says, as Jose Luis says, it's a common sense in most of the cases. It's just common sense. We need a robust fact base in order to know which is the risk, the vulnerability, the hazards, the social groups affected. We need to have clear goals, measurable goals, and also an monitoring in a second step. We need to have very clear measures and policies, diverse policies, not focusing only in one aspect and sometimes neglecting especially the social aspect of sustainable development. We need to have politicians that are fighting for implementation, and a weakness is usually the local politicians that sometimes they are not very keen in promoting the proposals of the expert. continuous monitoring and evaluation, and participation in every step of this procedure for climate planning, and of course consistency and coherence between different components of each part. Thank you, and
thank you very much, Byron. Thank you. Let me introduce Anika Kuka. Is professor in the Department of Geography at the University of Zadar and serves as chair of the International Geographical Union's Commission on Ireland and other coastal areas. Her research focuses primarily on islands, with a particular emphasis on their social and economic development. She will be really very interested in their ideas and the work that has been working especially on housing and the social aspects of that. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank
Anika.
you very much for the introduction, and I'm really pleased to be here today. I will talk actually about something else. You were talking a lot about engineering, ports, and so on, but I will talk about the society. Within the last few days, we have different workshops, and we were talking a lot about sustainability and about the goals of the EU-CONEXUS, that we want to create smart, resilient, technologically adapted, advanced cities. But my question today that I would like to talk about more is, who are we creating those cities for? You will see why. So, when we talk about sustainable development, I will not go to definitions because you are all aware of that. But one of the very, very important aspects of sustainable development is access, actually, to housing and access to land. So this is why I ask you the question, who are we creating those cities for? Access to housing and land is not among the 17 main goals, not in the title of the goals. However, of course, it's listed among the targets, especially in number 1 sustainable goal, and number 2, and number 11. 11 is the one dealing with sustainable urban areas, and it talks about access to housing. And when we talk about poverty, poverty and the health issues, we cannot talk about those topics without having the guarantee that our society is going to have the access to the housing. So it's one of their main rights. I'm sure most of you or all of you are from academic community, so you can read graphs very well. This is the graph that shows data from Eurostat, European Statistics Agency, and it shows how much the prices of housing changed in this last 15 years in EU. So what shocked me personally, and will maybe shock you as well, on the level of EU, the housing prices of the properties, if you want to buy the property, the prices rise for 60%. On some countries, especially here are the colleagues from Lithuania, it was almost 200% rise of houses prices in just 15 years. So I can ask you a question: is your income also that high, or did it increase that high, 200%? It's not just about buying the property, it's also about renting the property. Rentals are also in increase, almost 30% on the level of the EU. Of course, in each country, it's a bit different situation. And what is happening in urban coastal areas particularly, they are affected with tourism. So one of the reasons why those prices are in rise is, of course, inflation. It's very difficult to influence on that. But the other thing is also touristification and gentrification. And here's the problem for our members of our society, particularly the ones who are not part of this tourist development and who cannot afford to live in those cities anymore. Seasonal occupancy creates also ghost towns outside the tourist season, so those are some other problems that are coming from this issue. So how this all affects society? As you can see on the photos, I wanted to be a bit brutal. We have more and more people who are poor. Sometimes we don't think about them enough, I think. And one of the reasons why they're living like that is also because they cannot afford to live in the houses or apartments anymore. We don't have problem only with people who belong to low class, who don't have enough income. Today, the problem is also with the people who can afford, who could have afford until recently to live in their own houses or to rent houses, I don't know, professors in the school, even our young assistants at the universities. It's difficult to be assistant today in Croatia, especially in coastal town like Zadar, because your income, if you are not living in that town, and if you don't have your own property, it's very difficult to rent it, because the rental prices are very, very high, and they will eat your salary practically. So this is the problem that some scientists were addressing in their research, but I think that it's our task to talk about this more. What is also one of the side effects, I had to show this because this is the best place in Europe to show this. Why? Because Spain is the country that had maybe the biggest issues with tourism. They say tourism is a disease, tourists go home. You know that there is tourists go home like movement, and it started to spread around Europe because the last photo is from my island in Croatia. Tourists go home. It's not about tourists, we are all tourists here at the moment, so we don't still want to go home. However, why? Because one of the bad side or negative side effects of tourism is also this, that everyone wants to rent their property to tourists and not to students, not to residents, because tourists will pay more. So this affects our coastal cities as well. So it's one of the issues that we have to stress out. We have our policies. They are European policies, and you know, sometimes it's very nice in these agendas, in documents, in policies. However, the problem always is about implementation, and also it's not everywhere the same situation. Some areas are affected more, some less. Also, there are some other problems with, especially in local communities. Sometimes you have also high level of corruption within local communities, where people from building sector, they are pressuring politicians, and then they sometimes change spatial planning, and it doesn't favor the people who have problem with affording their housing. So there are huge challenges in front of us, and this is also, as I said, one of the topics that must be addressed better even in EU-CONEXUS community. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mika. This is, you have seen that only with 4 different points of view around Europe, we have focused in very, very relevant issues, a challenge that we have, and especially that affect all of us. You has say very clear, you know, the case of Spain. I could say all the Mediterranean, maybe this could be really affected, but not only on that, maybe also in other parts of Europe, this happened the same. Okay, now I would like to start the debate and also making some questions. You know, it has been interesting, Christiana, this what you have said, living organism, the cities as a living organism, something that is alive, that is changing, that use energy, that is also absorb and release energy, water, whatever, you know. How do you think that this understanding can help for the design and build environment to respond for these adaptive and resilient urban systems? How do you think this concept can help on that?
I think that one of the, let's say, starting from metabolism itself, or a system, a living system, the human, the occupant in the building, we have our thermoregulatory system. So we have sensors, we have a system that optimizes our own way of functioning, which is the thermoregulatory system, and then we have procedures to adapt ourselves we put clothes or whatever decision we make. So this is how we should also consider the buildings. We should put sensors, and in the cities as well. We should put sensors in the cities to feel what is happening. Then we need to have good optimization systems, like building management systems, to make it work as it should be. And then, of course, we can have active systems like active envelope, which receives solar energy from the sun to use, and so to act, to adapt even better. So this is how the cities should, let's say, should be seen, as we need to check all these points. We need to have sensors, and we talked a lot about digital twins, which rely a lot on data and how we collect data from the cities. But we also need to have those networks of assets, energy assets between buildings in order to function properly. So now we need to not think about a building like an inertial thing that only requires energy, but can also produces energy, and they can give energy whenever another building might need it. So we need to balance this energy flow inside the
this
city.
We could say that maybe could be like use nature-based solutions, for such as building, and then also integrate it with the people. This is not like a photograph or a picture. This is like a movie, on all that. Okay. Yeah. Well, Vilma, I will ask you about in your experience on the port of Klaipėda. How could be all this vision align to implicate all the people around the city, and also align the port development with goals like public health, quality air, public space. This is complex.
Yes.
How do you try to work on that? How do you start it? Because it's not easy. There are many elements around that. There will be the port, who plans, who has the money. But then there are many actors around that, and this is like on this living organism,
Yes.
in Klaipėda, could be quite difficult to manage all of them.
Yeah.
What is your experience?
And it's difficult. It's
difficult,
hard,
yeah.
actually.
This is very complex.
You have to admit, that's difficult. But if you want to run this topic, and if you see your vision on different, including different parts of the players, let's say, so you see your mission that you are a part of all the ecosystem and all the sustainable growth of the city as well. So you are only part, and somebody has to lead it. Somebody has to take the lead, or the city, country, and in our case, it's the port who takes the lead and puts all together, different parties, as you say, on the table, urban planners, researchers. That's important part. And even being in this environment, in this EU-CONEXUS, it's important to know what are the main researchers, let's say, what are the data modeling about all of those things. So, and you take the lead to hear all the parties. You are, and who builds the trust? Trust is built when you are open and when you share. And yesterday I heard a perfect idea. We are so focused on doing, but we are not focused on explaining what we are doing. So I think we have make a lot of interactions to the communities, explain what we are doing. That all those spaces, let's say, it's going to be a lot of constructions, like to build a new terminal, it's a lot of constructions, and people are unhappy. But if you talk them and then tell them that it's going to be spaces for you as well, for cultural events, for pedestrian areas, not only for tourists, but it's going to be bicycle roads, and you will be closer to the city. And yes, it will increase your, rental prices. And that's not the main target, but etc. So that explanation, collaboration, it's what the port, our authority, believes. And somebody has to bring everybody on the table.
I think probably also in your case that you were before on the mobility agency of the city.
Yeah.
You have a point of view from the city
Yeah.
that now can
True.
help on the port. That's why maybe because normally in my experience I have seen that it is important how are the relations between port and city and how these are organized. In some cities around Europe, the port belongs to the city. That's probably more easier. But in some cases like here, for example, in Spain, the big ports belongs to the national government. And the city is there next to that. And then they have different structures. And this is more difficult, how to make an agreement with all these bodies and that. But they should. Yeah. That's why maybe I think this is a very complex problem, but it will be really very interesting, all your experience on that, for how maybe we can move forward on that. Byron, how can that help the local climate planning here, for example, or maybe in a city like Limassol that maybe can afford similar challenges on that?
Yeah. In Limassol, we have the problem you have described because the Port Authority belongs to the central state and the city is the municipality, etc. Sometimes it's like the port and the central state is something else. It doesn't belong to the community. So we need to change the mentality, especially in the relation between, firstly, the public bodies. We need to set up specific goals and understand that these bodies are for the benefit of the society and to serve people. So they need to cooperate and don't act sometimes in their own frameworks and directives and KPIs. For example, the KPI of the Port Authority should be to grow, okay, but also the city needs to grow. So they need to compromise in some areas. But I'm very glad to comment that despite this fact, in Limassol now, and our university is working closely with the Port Authority and the municipality in order to change the hot iron procedure for the maritime industry, for the maritime sector of the city. So a very innovative strategy for reducing emissions from the port. It will be applied with the cooperation of the municipality, and this will benefit pollutants and emissions that would cause diseases or other impact on the citizens. So gradually, I think that we can find the way to achieve these goals, but it's essential what it was said before, the two things. The first is the data. We need to monitor, to observe, to have sensors, to know the data. Of course, to interpret the data and deal with the data, but also disseminate and discuss with the local people, because they have a huge force sometimes. They can drive the change.
And Annika, how this social aspect in cities like Sadar, you have mentioned this displacement of residents, that maybe they are taken out because they come in new investments, for tourists, whatever. What are the most visible social impact on that? Well, you make a very interesting question. Do we have the city that we wanted to have, and for who? That's why, how this is in the case of Sadar.
Okay, as I said, there are different practices all across Europe, but particularly in Sadar, I can talk from the local experience. Zadar is a small town with 70,000 people, and it's very touristified. The problem is that now tourists are actually everywhere within the town, and you don't have residential areas and separately tourist areas, even though they are defined by the spatial plans. But practically in residential areas, we also have tourist rentals. So the problem is, for instance, today it increased the prices for a local population, and it became very, very difficult to buy property or even to rent property. In Croatia, particularly in Zadar, for instance, the price of 1 square meter, if you want to buy it, it's 5,000 euro per square meter. And our income, according to latest statistics in Croatia, is about 1,400 euro per month netto wage. So it's very low. So this difference is getting higher and higher. You know, our standard cannot follow the increase in prices. In Croatia, we were lucky, I would say lucky, even though some people would say it was not a good idea. But we mostly own our own places. Actually, we are at the top level in the EU when it comes to owning the properties. 91% of Croatian people, they own the property where they live in. And it's okay for those generations now, but what about younger people? What when you have to transfer from one city to another city? We also have one other record in statistics in Croatia related to EU, that our children, they don't leave their homes like Scandinavians with 18 or 19 years. Actually, they stay with us the longest in Europe until 35 or 36 years. So we cannot get rid of them. Why? Because it's not, I mean, we love them, but we want them to have their own lives. And it's very difficult because they cannot afford to go somewhere else. This is a huge problem for younger population, especially. So,
you know, this is interesting because, you know, maybe we have been focused a lot of effort in technology. We have been focused a lot of effort on infrastructure. And then we see that the problem is that our young people cannot have a house.
Yeah.
And even we are not working a lot for the vulnerable people, you know? That's why probably that's why we make some contradiction in what we are doing. Then my question is, if we wanted a sustainable development, this is sustainable?
No.
Probably not. Probably we are not doing right things. What do you think on this concept? You know, we have very clear that this is not only technology, there is not only infrastructure, there is relationships also. And also it will be important to include on the equation people. How do you see this, maybe? Christiana, how do you see maybe, how can we implicate all those people that have something to say, at least, I cannot buy a house. What have you made?
First of all, from the experience I had at the beginning, we work on very technical projects, fundamental research, let's say, then some more applied. No implication of the people, the end beneficiary, let's say. And after, when we started to implement larger scale projects, which involved cities as well as partners, we were in the phase where we need to put at the same table also the citizens, to interact with them. And for us engineers, it was a very weird step to, to start. But in the end, we saw that this co-creation, because we talk a lot about co-creation and co-design, it was an important step, so that the citizen will actually feel that he participated in that concept, and in the end he's somehow the owner of that thing that resulted in the end. And from my perspective, this ownership process of the community, it's very important. And also, if we translate it into technical aspects like energy sharing happens at the community level. This should be, let's say, centralized at the community level, decentralized from the building level. But from the city level, sorry. But this ownership should be implemented at this community level, so they can actually feel that they are a part of this energy sharing system, and they should put together what they have, these renewables, for example, technology that they have, in order for their neighbor to benefit from this. And this is when we really need to start understanding how people are thinking and how to involve in the process, because without them, we will not succeed in doing anything.
Yeah. But let me to be a little critic on that.
Yeah.
You know, in my experience,
Yeah.
this is what it is needed.
Yeah.
But then, who is community? And I can say to you, I don't know if it happened the same. I would like to know your opinion, Byron and Vilma. Sometimes you ask the community, but maybe there is a small association that only represent 5% or 2% of the people, but the rest of the people of the city, they have no voice. And then probably we have a wrong information, and most of these people are influenced from political issues. That's why maybe then there is not a real society. That's why we wanted to hear the real society. What are the problems? What do you think about that, Byron?
Well, I think it's critical, but now we have more tools, for example. When we prepare KPIs for a project, we have dissemination reactions, how many people reacted. So the agencies that are dealing with projects need to be, they should oblige to engage people, and if they engage people, then the project will benefit and they will get more funding maybe, or we need to find this sort of mechanisms so that the agencies, they would have the duty to reach more people, to reach vulnerable people, to reach the community. And now with the new European Bauhaus that a lot of initiatives started, inclusiveness is one of the basic principles. So we need to conceptualize this and put it in the task and in the project management processes and make it a formal demand. This is my opinion. Coming from all this we have discussed.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. And Vilma, how you manage this in the case of
actually,
Helpedia? That is
I
complex.
agree with my colleague. It's very important to announce all your projects, even visions, even ideas at the very beginning. And what we are strong in social media, really, and LinkedIn and the Facebook, and we try to reach all the community groups, I would say, not only those small, who are against something, or protecting something, you don't know what they are protecting, maybe themselves. So, but as far as you are open, let's say, and at the very beginning stage, you are more successful. Not to get all those claims. And what we done in mobility agency when I was not in a city, let's say, but in a capital, we organized them. For example, if we want to make a bicycle road, or we want to make some scooter places, let's say, that's a huge problem now in Europe. So we collect all that community for a discussion and receiving a feedback on our idea, and letting them all, even doing many interactions, not only one, announcement, but many of them. So you have to be proactive, I would say.
Yep.
From such kind of agencies, you are who have to be proactive. Not community will come, we always will come with some claims.
How was I'm curious about how was the feeling of the new cruise terminal at the beginning?
Sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to give the opportunity to the audience so that they can also ask their questions. And if you don't mind, we can just start the turn for the audience.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all. I have a question of curiosity for Annika. How you approach tourism issue, related issue in your discipline? How you approach your different question in your discipline related to tourism?
Yeah, within geography, we have tourism geography. And
Yeah.
we have tourism geography within the geography as one of the fields. And what interests us as human geographers is actually this: what is the impact of the tourism on the local communities? So we have a different kind of research about this. And someone asked even in an earlier panel, what is in your panel actually, where you were talking, they asked what is the purpose or how can we be multidisciplinary within the EU-CONEXUS. So this is also one of the approaches that really needs multidisciplinarity, because you need also psychologists, you need sociologists, you need economists, you need geographers to see what is really going on within the area and within the society. So we do have different kind of research within geography that deals really with tourism. Also, spatial planning is one aspect that the geographers are really keen about. We have that kind of the research, and the latest that I was involved in was about this tourist rentals within Zadar area. Actually, we wanted to see the distributions of this rental within the city to see how it affects actually the local residents. And what we noticed, and it was really shocking, that even in the residential areas that were built recently in order to help residents to have affordable living because they were subsidized by the government, people were actually buying those properties and then renting them again to tourism. So this is also one of the problems. So you don't have good solutions for that. Sometimes it's very difficult, but this is within the geography. We do perform different kind of the research about this. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, yeah. Similarly, piggybacking off of the presentation by Professor Kuka at the end, I was wondering if the panel has any takes, or I would like to hear the panel's thoughts on addressing kind of this vicious cycle that can be created by addressing the climate crisis and implementing climate adaptation strategies, in a sense, in a kind of micro sense, where we have adaptation strategies like green infrastructure that can directly cause gentrification and displacement, but as well in a larger sense in that kind of people will look to move to safer or cooler or more climate adapted places in the future.
So I'm not sure I understood well the question. I
was wondering how we can address the vicious cycle that can be created by kind of implementing
this
climate.
Vicious cycle?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Vicious cycle. Vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle.
So as we adapt to the climate crisis, that we cause displacement through those adaptation measures.
Yeah, I mean, societies are adapting to changes. We will also adapt to this one. We will have to. We are forced to that. But as I said, touristification, if we talk about this, it's something that really affects seriously these coastal areas, and we are not thinking a lot about it. So I think it's an opportunity also within CONEXUS to maybe even connect more with other scientists dealing with also climate crisis and everything else, so we can create some better environments for the societies by the coast. I'm not sure if I answered this question well.
I could add something. I think that gentrification is like carbon emissions. You cannot avoid it. You can only mitigate it, and being conscious of what it is happening, of course, not neglecting, and try to mitigate. But when you invest a single euro in a place, then gentrification forces will start in any case.
Yeah, it will start. It's very difficult to stop it in areas, and we don't have just problem with the increase of tourism and people who want to buy. I forgot to say one thing. Last year in Croatia, this is very important data, 50% of our real estate properties were sold to foreigners, not to local people. So from people from other countries. It's very difficult to manage that. So you can just move somewhere else, probably somewhere out of the coast. But you know, you are the one who, or your ancestors were the one who created this area, who preserved it for so long, such a long time in the history, and now you have to move because there are some other aspects that are actually kicking you out of your area. So I think we have to stop this in some way. And in Croatia, one other thing, we have a huge diaspora. We have people from diaspora coming to our country again and buying second homes, and they will always have much more money than we have, and we are a small country, so that's why the influence is such big and such huge.
But you know, this kind of thing also has already happened in other countries. You know, for example, maybe it's not coastal areas, but this happened in Switzerland. You know, they needed to create a law that no one can buy a farm if there is not a farmer. And they have the degree for a farmer. Because, you know, in the past there were rich people from Germany, they came, buy a beautiful farm next to the lake. That's why the problem. And then they built some laws. Could be some ideas, but this is not only a single issue. You need probably to see all around what are all these variables around this complex project. Because I agree with all of you, you know, there are many different aspects. And this is not easy. For that, probably should be important the participation on all the actors. But there are many actors that has no voice. You know, there are many actors. Most of the population has no voice. You know, because there are, in some cases, there are some representation from association, whatever, but they have also their own interest. That's why what is very important, we were working on the knowledge and innovation community, and we were working on urban mobility and also on climate change. And you know, the most difficult aspect is how we arrive to the citizen, to the real citizen, not some representation of the citizens, because they have their own interest. In most of the cases, they were political interest. And then they have like instruction. For that, it doesn't matter what is going to happen in the future. They have an instruction to follow, they follow because they are paid for that. That's why it's very important on all these complex cases, because probably in the case of Zadar, will be important to ask these people, what do you want to have for your children? Yeah. You know, maybe. Okay, more questions?
Hello, I am Panagiotis Karountzos from Greece. I live in Athens. I'm PhD candidate in Agricultural University of Athens. I would like to say to Ms. Kuka that you just described the situation of my country, in Greece, which I believe it's much more in worst situations. We can find a house, young people can rent the house. Usually, young people leave house at the age of 35, 36 or 40 or more. You just described my country, I believe. I didn't know that the problem is the same in other countries, such as Switzerland, as you said before. I would like to ask finally, what do you suggest to solve this problem? It's a real problem. It's getting bigger and bigger. Actually, what do you suggest?
Yeah, thank you for your question. And I knew that in Greece it's the same thing. He said at the beginning that we will not be giving solutions here, if I remember.
but
we can try.
But I ask, not only solutions. We can give solutions, but
this
also.
Is obviously a hot topic because no one has questions for others. Because something we can all relate with. It's not new problem, so I have to address this as well. This is not new. It's something that is happening, especially in Mediterranean areas, for a long time. However, you saw the graph, the increase is huge in the last 15 years, and it will be even larger, it seems. It doesn't stop. So it's a problem that really politicians and economics, they have to deal with it. Is it possible to stop the prices? I think that would be one of the solutions. How can we stop the prices, or can we stop the prices? In Croatia, it's difficult because it's a small market and huge demand. And we know what happens when you have huge demand and small market. So if you can stop it and say, no, the price of the 1 square meter will be this one, then maybe that's one of the solutions. But I don't know in economic terms, because I'm not economist, they would probably disagree with this. They would say, no, it's not good. But I know that in Croatia recently they did the same thing with the prices of some food. They say, no, now so it's possible to limit it. But how would it affect the real estate? I don't know. The other solution is on working on how to increase the income. If you cannot pay something, let's try with income increase. But I think it will be very hard, and now the difference between this is really, really huge. The next solution would be subsidizing the build of the homes that would be used only for residents, not for tourism or something else, but for living, so people can afford it. Maybe government can subsidize. We do have some of those projects, even in a city where I come from. Now they announced recently they will be building 750, I think, new homes for younger people. But it will not solve problems to all of us. And as I said, it's something that spread really across the Europe. I'm not sure there is no one solution. There must be a combination of different ones. And it's very difficult, as I said, in tourist areas, because it's something else. We had it in Spain, you have it in Greece, you have it now in Croatia, in Italy. It's very similar. And that's why those countries that I mentioned, as you said, have the young people living with parents for so long. Not because they love us, but because they have to be with us. They don't have their lives. Yeah. It's a problem for younger people. And probably, sorry if I can just, there is one also thing that I didn't find any literature about in Europe, or maybe I wasn't looking deep enough, but there is a concept of working homeless. Something that we, in Spain, there is a lot, and there is more and more. I mean, I don't have data about this, I couldn't find it. So living homeless is a category that is recent. We didn't have it before. People who are working and they are homeless. They cannot afford to pay for the rent, so they are living in their cars or someone in the tents. This is terrible. So this is total marginalization of the society.
And also you can see that it's interesting because this has been happened during the last 20 years.
Yeah.
There is not a very long time. Yeah. This is 20 years. What we have made during the last 20 years or what? Nothing. Probably. And then probably on the solutions, probably there will be not a magic solution for everywhere. Probably will be local solutions. And each one need to find what could be the way. You have a question?
There are many questions still, so that's why if you can hear us, because we are running out of time. So we can just very, very short.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe you can pick all the questions and then answer.
We have 1, 2, 3. 3, that's okay? Okay,
so
go ahead.
My question to Professor Kuka. It's clear that on the one side you have the community which is annoyed about the dynamics. We have the private sector in a way or another who is happy about this. What about the state, the government? What the position of the state? Are they happy with this? Are they adapting with this? Are they looking for solutions? So
they are looking for solutions, and in each of these countries at the moment they are creating policies. Some of them already created them, but it's difficult to implement it fast because some of those people, they need help right away. They cannot wait for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years more. So something is moving, because I see that there are even more and more research about this topic and more policies created. And I think each country has to do it their own way, because each one of the countries in the EU has bit different problems or different practices and different laws. So you have to adapt to your legislation and then to try to find a way to help people. And it's not the same in the country with 3.8 million people like Croatia, or a country with 50 million people like Spain. There is a huge difference. So the problems are even higher probably.
Your question? Next question? Okay.
Okay, so I'm Nina Lončar, professor at the Geography Department as Anica is, and this is more maybe like a general comment and question to all of us. Anica's lecture was who are we doing it for? And I would like to go deeper, because I think that our academic community is very focused on to be adapted, the adaptive, resilient, smart infrastructures, and we heard lots of talk very good examples of development on some higher level. For example, the ports and in the industry. But here we addressed a little bit the question of the common people, and I think that is a problem because many people do not even believe in climate change. Many people do not care because it will happen to someone else. We have a problem on the islands as well. I know in the Greece is the problem because of the tourism. We have climate change, we have increased hot days, we have low precipitation, we have water crisis, we have energy crisis, we will have more and more temperature, more and more air condition, and nobody, I think that we don't have solution how to really raise awareness to the common people, because there are the majority. And you cannot say, please don't do it, if he knows that with another apartment that he will rent, he will earn more money. So I think this is maybe also one of the questions that we can maybe address in some other roundtables in the next months or years, because I think we should try to get all these solutions on the higher level to this very low basic level, because this is the base of our adaptation and mitigation, I think, in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And your last question, there is a last question there.
Hello. I still want to contribute to the topic on tourism and start also like to have an input in the next discussion where I am taking part, because you mentioned that mainly tourists are guilty because of the rising of the price, but actually we are in European Union already under a few waves of migration, and this is also one of the case that the prices for rents and houses are increased so highly in most of the countries. So I don't think so that tourists are only guilty in this case.
Yes.
So migration and which is still considering, and now Croatia is also the country which is taking migrants, not only sending migrants. That was when you started to join EU.
Actually, Croatia, after so many years, finally have the positive migration balance these last few years. Due to tourism, I have to say again, due to tourism again, because we need a working force. Because Croatians emigrated out of Croatia, we lost 10% of our population between last two censuses. We were a recorder even in that statistics. And now we have a lack of working force. And tourism is growing. We need most of those people who are coming to work, they work in tourism sector. Again, so of course it's not just tourism. There are other aspects of economy that are increasing prices. But to us, I think tourism is problem because in residential areas, in coastal cities, because we are talking about coastal cities in EU-CONEXUS, tourist accommodation is everywhere. So our students, if they want to study in Zadar, they have to leave their apartments on 1st May because tourists are coming, they're paying more. So there are many problems that are coming from this, and I don't think that we talk about them enough. But it's very complex, you're right there. It's not just that.
I would like to know, because usually if you want to adapt a building, to be more energy efficient, you need a lot of money. Many buildings are inhabited by very elderly people. Those people, they cannot afford it. And temperatures are rising. Here in Valencia, for example, they are saying that by 2050, it will be impossible to live because the temperature will be so high that we won't have it won't be able. So I wanted to know if by enforcing laws and also involving industry, even if it's with laws or because we can also raise the taxes that they have to pay, that would be part of the solution.
Yeah, of course, it is a matter of involving the authorities at this level, since energy efficiency it has a price, and this price cannot be afforded by anyone. So that's why this is when the incentives and the legislation must get into the scene and start supporting those citizens who are vulnerable enough in order not to afford this. Vulnerable not necessarily from the economical point of view, but as you said, elderly people who have different health problems. So that's why we need to see what are the active solutions that we can use, PV systems, heat pumps, and so on, but also some other complementary solutions like nature-based solutions, which can be involved in the city and should be part of the city. It's a huge step to start with, and we don't do that. We just, when we rehabilitate one building, we just put PV panels and that's it. We don't consider the green, which is also a very good starting point for us. So yeah, the authorities should step in for sure.
Thank you, Christiana. Well, I would like to give a final message on that. Let's go to close. We can continue speaking then later, with the speakers. There are many things to say here, but that it is clear that we have not speaking about technology. We have been speaking about social aspects of this development and how this is important on that. But I would like to give a positive idea and also a good news, that on this complex, difficult environment, especially on the coastal areas, we could say that the coastal cities can lead the way toward just and resilient future. And the time to act is now. And this will depend on all of us, especially on Conexus. This is a good example that this debate could happen, must happen here, and we need to try solutions. We don't have the solutions, but it is clear that we need to involve all the partners here, all the people here, and not to have only one vision of the problem, because these are complex problems, that has difficult solutions, and probably the solution will be in each single place. That's why maybe let's go to work on that. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you very much to all of you. And I think we have now something. You wanted to say something now?